Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty huge in the AI world, WebGPT.
Definitely huge.
It's an AI model designed to be like your very own research assistant.
Like having a super-powered research assistant, but, digital.
I like the way you think. So imagine this. You're grappling with some seriously complex question.
The kind that just sends you down a never-ending Google rabbit hole.
Exactly. But instead of getting lost in a sea of search results,
With like a million tabs open.
you get this. WebGPT swoops in, scours the entire web for you.
And, I mean, really scours it.
And then, get this, it synthesizes all that information into a clear, concise answer.
Complete with references even. So you know it's legit.
Okay, that is seriously cool. It's like it's blowing the whole simple search engine thing out of the water.
Totally. This is about getting real insights, not just a bunch of random links.
Right, right. And this WebGPT, it's the brainchild of the folks over at OpenAI, right?
Yep, the same brilliant minds behind, the one and only GPT-3.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not be as familiar with GPT-3.
Which, by the way, is totally understandable because the AI world moves fast.
For real. So can you give us a quick rundown of what makes GPT-3 so groundbreaking?
In a nutshell, GPT-3 is this, language model powerhouse. It was trained on this massive data set of text and code.
And I mean massive, right?
Oh yeah, we're talking an unprecedented amount of data, which allows it to generate human-like text in a way we haven't really seen before.
Okay, so that's impressive and all, but what makes WebGPT more than just, GPT-3's smarter cousin? What sets it apart?
The real game changer here is that WebGPT can actually browse the internet.
Browse like with a tiny little AI mouse and keyboard?
Not quite. But it's kind of like that conceptually. It can follow links in real time, go from one web page to another, just like you or I would when researching something.
Whoa, so it's not limited to like some predefined database of information.
Exactly. It's accessing and processing information from the live web, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
So it's like it has its own little digital research library card and knows exactly how to use it. That's amazing. But how does it actually do that? Like, what's going on under the hood?
Okay, so imagine it operating in a text-based environment, kind of like a command line interface, if you're familiar with those.
I've seen those in movies, all that code flashing across the screen.
Exactly. It's not quite as dramatic as the movies make it seem, but essentially, WebGPT sends itself instructions.
Instructions? Like what? Paint me a picture here. Okay, so instructions. Like what kind of instructions are we talking about?
Imagine it like this, right? It's as if WebGPT is giving itself like a set of super specific directions.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It might tell itself something like, all right, first, search for this specific keyword, and then click on, let's say, the third link on the page, and then even something super specific like scroll down in the second paragraph and grab that quote.
Whoa, that's wild. So it's not just randomly browsing, it's following like a precise path to find what it needs.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Those instructions, they're actually based on tons and tons of demonstrations.
Demonstrations? Like, is someone actually showing WebGPT how to do all this?
Yeah, you could say that. Human researchers had to kind of walk WebGPT through countless scenarios.
So there's actually like a lot of hand-holding going on behind the scenes. It's not just let the AI loose on the internet kind of thing.
Oh, definitely not. The researchers basically had to show WebGPT the ropes, right? Teach it how to navigate the web effectively, like where to click, what to ignore, that sort of thing. But most importantly, how to zero in on the most relevant information.
It's like training a digital detective to sniff out the right clues.
Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
But it goes even deeper than that, you see. The researchers use this really cool technique called reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning. Okay, that sounds kind of intense. Less detective school, more like AI boot camp.
A little bit, yeah. It's like, imagine you're training a dog, right?
Yeah.
You give it a command, and if it does the thing you want, you give it a treat, right? Positive reinforcement.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
So with WebGPT, it's similar. The researchers basically presented it with a question.
And I'm guessing like multiple possible answers.
You got it. So they showed WebGPT a question, a bunch of different answers, and then human reviewers stepped in and were like, okay, this answer's good. This one, not so much. They judged which ones were the most accurate, the most helpful.
Fascinating. So WebGPT is learning from its mistakes, basically, getting better with each round of feedback.
Exactly. And the really exciting thing is how well this crazy training regimen actually worked.
Wow.
They put WebGPT to the test, right? Using this data set called ELI5, which stands for Explain Like I'm 5.
Oh, I love ELI5. It's amazing how people can take even the most complex stuff and break it down into, like, bite-sized pieces that anyone can understand.
Right. And get this. When they tested WebGPT on Eli 5, its answers, get this, they were actually preferred over answers written by real people.
Wait, are you serious? Like, it went head-to-head with actual humans and won?
That's right. And we're not just talking about random people on the internet either. These were answers that had already been vetted, upvoted by the Reddit community.
So it was surpassing content that was already considered, like, high quality.
Exactly. It wasn't just a matter of, like, doing it better than some random person. It was exceeding what was already considered good.
That's insane. Okay, I'm officially impressed.
But wait, there's more. It gets even more interesting when you look at how WebGPT did on another dataset called Truthful QA.
Truthful QA, okay, what's that all about? Is that like a test specifically designed to trip up AI?
You could say that. Truthful QA is designed to see if an AI can tell the difference between what's real and what's not. Can it spot fake news, avoid common misconceptions, that kind of thing.
Okay, so like a BS detector for AI. I like it.
And this is where it gets really important. Because while WebGPT isn't perfect, not by any means.
Because let's face it, nothing is.
True. But it did show a really impressive ability to figure out what information was true and present it in a clear way, even when the questions were designed to be tricky.
So it wasn't just spitting out whatever sounded good, it was actually trying to be accurate.
Right. And that's huge when you're talking about AI systems that have the potential to be so influential.
For sure. But even with everything you said, all this impressive performance, there have to be some limitations, right? So we've talked about all the amazing things WebGPT can do, but like with anything else, I'm sure there are some limitations we need to be aware of, right?
Absolutely. No, technology is perfect. And WebGPT is still, under development. But one thing the researchers found is that it can struggle sometimes with what we call out-of-distribution questions.
Out-of-distribution questions. Okay, that sounds kind of complicated.
It's really not as complex as it sounds. Think of it this way. Let's say you trained WebGPT on a ton of information about, like, I don't know, ancient history.
Okay, so it's a total pro on all things ancient history.
Right. It could probably ace any history quiz you throw at it, but then imagine you completely switch gears and start asking it about something totally different, like, I don't know, advanced astrophysics or something.
Yeah, I can see how that might throw it off a bit.
Exactly. WebGPT is constantly learning and growing, but it's still limited by the data it's been exposed to, right? It can only really work with information it's already processed in some form.
That makes sense. So like any brilliant mind, it needs to keep expanding its knowledge base. But even with those limitations, it sounds like we're on the verge of something really transformative here.
Oh, absolutely. Just imagine the possibilities. Students could have access to instant, verified answers to complex questions. Researchers could uncover hidden connections in their data. Even journalists could use WebGPT for fact-checking and in-depth analysis.
It really is like having a super-powered research assistant available 24/7.
Exactly. And this is a big but, with any powerful technology, we need to be incredibly mindful of how it's used, who has access to it.
Right, because it's not just about what WebGPT can do, it's about what we choose to do with it.
You hit the nail on the head. We have a responsibility to ensure it's used ethically. Think about the potential impact on, say, employment, or even just the importance of critical thinking in a world where AI-generated answers are so readily available.
That's huge. And then, of course, there's the whole issue of bias.
Yes. It's crucial to remember that WebGPT, like any AI, is only as good as the data it's trained on.
So if the data itself is biased, then the AI's responses will be too.
Exactly. Addressing potential bias in these systems is going to be a huge ongoing challenge.
It's like we're handing someone an incredibly powerful tool, and we have to make sure they know how to use it responsibly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Fascinating look into the future of AI. It really could change everything.
It's both exciting and a little bit daunting, right?
For sure. And I think that's a good place to leave it for today.
Definitely a lot to think about. So for our listeners, we've just scratched the surface of WebGPT, explored how it works, what it can do, and some of the big questions it raises.
Hopefully we've sparked your curiosity.
Because WebGPT is out there, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it continues to evolve.
And how we adapt to it.
Absolutely. As always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time.